everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie, and this channel is chronicling my journey of living my best life with multiple chronic health conditions. Today I'm going to be talking about my follow-up appointment at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, or CHOP, at their mitochondrial disease center, how that went, what are the next steps, are there any next steps, and so on. First, this is my fourth or fifth time recording this, so please bear with me. But the appointment went well. I was not expecting it to go well because I would not have classified the other two appointments as going well per se. Not saying that I was told that nothing was wrong with me, but I was definitely told that I did not have mitochondrial disease, that I don't present like I have mitochondrial disease, that the muscle biopsy was going to be normal and it was probably a waste of time. So I was not expecting much from this appointment. I went into the appointment sort of looking at the biopsy results, having also had the cardiac biopsy, and sort of trying to piece them together into one unifying picture, which is not the picture that CHOP took. I did try to ask why, and they did give me answers that made sense. So I'm sort of putting that in the back burner for now, and depending on what happens going forward, we can always revisit it in the future, I suppose. But so the way that they looked at it was pretty early in the appointment, maybe before we even talked about the individual results. They said that they wanted to do further studies, which completely shocked me. I was not expecting that at all, and sort of threw me off guard, because I had a way I was expecting the appointment to go, and that's how I mentally prepared, and then it sort of went a complete 180 direction, and I was like, wait, my notes aren't geared towards this kind of conversation. So it made it a little harder to ask questions, and I didn't do sort of the research on that side of things. I did research more towards a maintenance repair type issue versus a complex one isolated issue, which is the direction that they're going. So when Colorado did the respiratory chain analysis and found the low complex 1 activity, they did suggest that it would be sort of repeated in another tissue. I didn't think much of that because what other tissue? But I had forgotten that when they did the muscle biopsy, they also took fibroblasts or skin cells, and that is because of a situation like this. They can use skin cells to see if the same sort of low activity is present. So the plan is CHOP is going to regrow the skin cells. They are going to send them to Colorado. Colorado is going to regrow the skin cells, and then they are going to run some tests on them. One of the tests will be the respiratory chain analysis, or the electron transport chain analysis, however you want to phrase it, and looking to see if complex 1 remains low in skin as it is in muscle. And if it is, that would point more towards a systemic issue like a mitochondrial disease versus a muscle-specific problem. They're also running the BN page, which was the only test that I had on muscle that was completely normal. That looked at sort of the structure of the complexes and whether they were coming together correctly. They're also running a Western blot on complex 1. My understanding is it's sort of looking at the pieces and parts that make up complex 1 in a different way than the BNP page does, or the BN page does. I'm not really sure. I will message the geneticist to sort of put the rest of this together, since I've had sort of the weekend to synthesize the information in my head, sleep on it, lots of sleep, and just sort of understand what exactly we're doing and why. I understand why we're doing the electron transport chain again. I'm not sure I understand why we're redoing a test that was completely normal. And I'm curious, so I want to know these things. So I'll email him about that. But that is the next step, so that will take 3 to 4 months. So we're looking at like October, November or longer, simply because it also depends on how quickly how quickly they can get the skin cells to grow. I did sort of chuckle at that because I've been getting a lot of comments here in person because my biopsy site is taking forever to heal. It's still not 100% healed. It's close. It's pretty close. But yeah, like they made note that like my biopsy site took a long time to heal. They suggested I might want to go to like University of Pennsylvania for my esophagus spasms and my motility issues, because it's hard finding a gastric motility specialist where I am at the moment. They suggested I increase my magnesium because I've been having calf cramping since the biopsy. And all of this was interesting because I never got anything like that from them as far as a symptom I'm having that's not related to like genetics that they found, and them sort of saying like, why don't you go next door? That never happened before. Now in terms of the genetics that they found, they did say like, oh, like we have a really good like ataxia center next door. If you want to go there, we can refer you. But that was something like they found the genetics for that, so that makes sense they would do the referral. But for them saying like, hey, you could go next door and like even just let me know that that was an option, that University of Penn has like a gastric motility center. Like they never did that before, and not the first time I mentioned my like difficulty swallowing or the spasms. So like something was definitely different about this appointment. It felt different. I felt like I was being listened to more. It's sad that it took the results of the muscle biopsy to be listened to, and it's not the clinical picture that matters, it's the test results. And that's why normally when I go to doctor's offices, I don't really talk about symptoms so much as I talk about like, oh, like my anaerobic threshold is like 2.5 or whatever. Like I talk in terms of test results because I know doctors listen to those more than what I'm personally experiencing. That's just been my experience. I know a lot of other people with chronic illnesses, especially ones that are sort of complex, and they have similar experiences where you don't really get very far if you just talk about what your physical day-to-day is like. You have to prove it to them in terms of test results. So that's just how I'm used to speaking, and when you don't have the test results, or the right test result, or the test results aren't abnormal enough, or whatever it is, it's hard. But there was definitely a difference in how the appointment went. So we're just gonna see what happens with the fibroblast studies. I did ask in the experience what the fibroblast studies have come back on with someone with my like biopsy results and clinical presentation and whatnot, and the geneticist did say he would expect them to be abnormal, but I don't know how many people like me they've seen, simply because they didn't want to do the muscle biopsy to begin with. So if they saw someone else like me and the person wasn't able to convince them to do a muscle biopsy, then they would never have gotten far enough to do a fibroblast study anyway. But all in all, it's just whatever the test is what the test is. I asked if they thought the cardiac biopsy was related or separate. The geneticist said separate, but also said they don't know because they don't really see any cardiac biopsies. So a lot of this, they don't really know. And like I said, we'll have the test results back hopefully by the end of the year. I still have some research to do because, again, I was looking at maintenance and repair issues versus a complex 1 issue. So I have looked into sort of lifestyle, diet, medications that help and hurt complex 1 to see where and what I can tweak. That will probably be what I talk about in the next video, which will probably not be next weekend. This coming weekend is the 4th of July here in the States, and I will actually be out of town for the 4th of July. So unless I get a ton of energy during the week and can record a video and schedule it, which may happen, I don't know, we'll see. The video will go up sometime in July, but not the 4th of July weekend. I think that's going to be it for this one. I know it was kind of long. I apologize. Like I said, I've recorded this multiple times and it's long. I apologize. Yeah, that's going to be it for this one. I hope you're having a wonderful day whenever it is you're seeing this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.